hospital corridor smelled of antiseptic and panic. Nurses rushed past with hurried footsteps. A child's faint cry echoed somewhere behind the emergency doors, and a mother stood frozen in the middle of it all, her perfectly polished world suddenly collapsing in seconds. She was one of the most powerful CEOs in the city, a woman who controlled billion-dollar decisions with calm authority. Yet at that moment, she looked helpless, terrified, and broken because her little son's life depended on something she couldn't buy with money. Doctors were searching desperately for a rare blood type, and time was slipping away like sand through trembling fingers. What happened next would change several lives forever. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of doing good even when the world is cruel, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. It's always beautiful to see how stories connect people from different parts of the world. Ryan Carter had never imagined his day would end in a hospital corridor. His life was usually simple and quiet, centered around his 6-year-old son, Noah Carter. Ever since Ryan's wife passed away 3 years earlier after a long illness, he'd become both father and mother to the little boy. Life was not easy. Ryan worked long shifts as a mechanic in a small auto repair shop on the edge of the city. His hands were always stained with grease, and his clothes carried the scent of engine oil, no matter how carefully he washed them. But none of that mattered to him as long as Noah smiled when he came home. Noah was his world, the reason he woke up every morning, and the reason he kept pushing forward even when life felt unbearably heavy. That afternoon, Ryan had brought Noah to the hospital because the boy had fallen from his bicycle and scraped his knee badly. It was nothing serious, but Noah had cried enough to convince Ryan that a doctor should check it. While Noah sat quietly in the waiting area with a cartoon bandage on his knee, Ryan walked down the hallway looking for a vending machine to buy him a juice box. That was when he noticed the unusual commotion near the emergency room doors. Doctors were speaking urgently. Nurses were making rapid phone calls, and a woman in an elegant navy suit stood nearby, gripping her phone so tightly that her knuckles had turned pale. The woman was Claire Ashford, CEO of Ashford Technologies, a global company known for innovation and ruthless competition. To the outside world, she was a symbol of power and success. But at that moment, she was simply a mother terrified of losing her child. Her 8-year-old son, Liam Ashford, had been rushed into emergency surgery after a sudden internal bleeding caused by a rare medical condition. The doctors had explained that Liam's survival depended on receiving a blood transfusion immediately, but his blood type was extremely rare, and the hospital supply had run out. Claire's voice trembled as she pleaded with the doctors to find any solution. She promised to pay whatever it cost, donate millions to the hospital, or fly in blood from anywhere in the world. But medicine didn't work that way. Blood couldn't simply appear with money. It had to come from a human being with the right type. Ryan overheard a nurse mention the specific blood group they were looking for. Something about it caught his attention. Months earlier, during a routine health camp at Noah's school, Ryan had donated blood and discovered that he carried that same rare blood type. He hesitated for a moment, glancing back toward the waiting area where Noah sat swinging his small legs and watching cartoons on a phone. Then Ryan quietly approached the nurse and told her his blood type. Within minutes, doctors confirmed that Ryan was a match. There was no hesitation in his mind. He agreed instantly to donate blood for Liam. To Ryan, it wasn't a heroic decision. It was simply the right thing to do. Somewhere behind those emergency doors was a child fighting for his life, and he was a father who understood that kind of fear. As the nurses prepared him for the donation, Claire watched from across the corridor. Her eyes briefly met Ryan's, but she didn't recognize him yet. To her, he was just a stranger in worn jeans and a faded jacket, someone ordinary who had stepped forward during her worst nightmare. But Ryan remembered her from 2 years earlier. Ryan had visited Ashford Technologies for a job interview. After months of financial struggle following his wife's death, he had applied for a maintenance supervisor position at the company's corporate headquarters. He had spent hours preparing for that interview, hoping the stable salary would allow him to give Noah a better life. When Ryan arrived that day, he felt out of place among the sleek glass walls and expensive suits. His shoes were slightly scuffed, and his nervousness showed in every step. Unfortunately, the interview did not go as he hoped. Claire Ashford herself had briefly passed through the conference room while several candidates waited. Her eyes had scanned the room with sharp judgment, lingering for a second on Ryan's worn clothes. Someone had whispered something to her, and she had given a faint, dismissive smile before walking away. Later, Ryan overheard 2 employees joking in the hallway about how the grease-stained mechanic thought he belonged in a corporate building. The humiliation stayed with him for months. He never received a call back. Ryan had quietly accepted that moment as another reminder of his place in the world, and yet now in this hospital corridor, the same woman stood helpless while Ryan lay on a hospital bed donating blood that might save her son's life. As the blood slowly filled the collection bag, Ryan stared at the ceiling lights. He thought about Noah waiting outside. He thought about how fragile life could be, but he felt no anger toward Claire. Strange Strange as it seemed, the past humiliation had faded into something distant. In that moment, he saw only a frightened mother. Hours passed before the surgery finally ended. The doctors stepped out of the operating room with exhausted but relieved expressions. The transfusion had worked. Liam's condition was stabilizing. Claire broke down in tears of relief. Only later did a nurse tell her about the man who had donated the blood. Claire walked slowly toward the recovery room where Ryan sat beside Noah, who had fallen asleep against his shoulder. The sight stopped her in her tracks. The man looked familiar, but she couldn't immediately place him. Then Ryan lifted his head, and recognition struck her like a sudden storm. It was the same man from that interview 2 years ago. Memories rushed back. The whispered jokes, the dismissive glance, the silent judgment she had made without knowing anything about him. And now that same man had saved her son. Claire felt a deep wave of shame wash over her. Ryan noticed her standing there, but simply gave a polite nod. There was no bitterness in his expression, only quiet exhaustion. Claire struggled to find words. Her voice trembled as she thanked him, but the gratitude felt painfully small compared to what he had done. Ryan only smiled gently and said he was glad Liam would be okay. In that moment, Claire realized something that years of corporate success had never taught her. That true greatness wasn't measured by wealth, status, or power. It lived quietly in the hearts of ordinary people who chose kindness even when the world had not been kind to them. But before we reach the ending of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, if you were in Ryan's position, would you have done the same thing for someone who once humiliated you? The weeks that followed brought unexpected changes. Claire could not forget Ryan's quiet act of compassion. She began reflecting deeply on the culture of her company and the way people were judged based on appearance or background. One morning, she invited Ryan to her office. Ryan arrived nervously, unsure why one of the city's most powerful CEOs wanted to meet him. Claire greeted him with genuine respect this time. She apologized sincerely for the past, something that cost her pride but felt necessary. Then she offered Ryan a new position at Ashford Technologies, not out of charity, but because she had learned about his work ethic, mechanical expertise, and reputation for honesty. Ryan hesitated. His life had taught him to be cautious with promises from powerful people, but Claire's sincerity felt real. Eventually, Ryan accepted. Months later, life looked very different. Ryan had a stable career that allowed him to spend more time with Noah. Claire had transformed parts of her company culture, introducing programs that valued people for their skills and character rather than appearances. And Liam Ashford often visited Ryan's home to play with Noah, the boy whose father had given him the gift of life. Sometimes the greatest lessons arrive in the most unexpected ways. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like this video. Share it with someone who believes kindness can still change the world. And subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. Because sometimes the person the world once mocked becomes the very person who saves it.